各位傳媒朋友早晨，多謝大家出席今日呢一個記者會。稍後行政長官會先同大家發言，然後接受大家嘅提問。咁由於疫情關係啦，咁請大家喺記者會入邊都盡量保持距離。依家我哋首先有請行政長官。
各位傳媒朋友，各位香港市民嚇，今日同大家交代下最新嘅疫情，特別係有針對關於葵涌村嘅。就自舊年12月30日因為 Omicron 引起本地嘅感染，我哋進入咗新一波嘅疫情啊，或者我哋可以稱之為第5波嘅疫情。喺呢一波疫情裏邊，過去3個禮拜咧，我哋見到病毒感染嘅源頭分別係來自呢3方面嘅。第一咧就係機組人員嚇，咁引發咗望月樓嘅群組啦，同埋係一個我哋簡稱為跳舞群組嘅。但係到今日為止咧，呢一個嘅源頭咧應該係受控㗎啦。第二個源頭咧係喺檢疫酒店有位檢疫嘅人士咧係受到感染，然後回到咗社區，就引發咗一場非常大規模嘅爆發，就涉及葵涌村呢個群組嘅。稍後我會詳細交代葵涌村最新嘅情況。第三咧係專家認為都係由輸入嘅倉鼠引起嘅群組。咁而家呢2個群組，即係包括係因為喺檢疫酒店引發咗葵涌村嘅群組，屬於 Omicron 嘅變異病毒株，同埋因為倉鼠引起屬於 Delta 呢個變種病毒株嘅群組咧，仍然係喺度擴散緊嘅。首先交代下葵涌村個情況，大家記得咧，我喺上個星期六，即係1月22日，係交代咗我哋需要採取嘅進一步嘅措施。當時咧，我有呢一組數字同大家分享嘅，因為全世界咧都係見到，亦都好擔心咧 Omicron 變異病毒株，因為佢個傳播力係咁強，咁所以一經爆發咧係幾何式或者甚至係海嘯式咧嚟到去增加嗰個確診個案。以葵涌村嚟到去睇呢個情況咧，我喺1月22日同大家交代3日嘅數字，呢個係累計嘅數字，即係話喺當日掌握嘅確診個案同埋初步嘅陽性個案，喺1月20日係9宗，1月21日係20宗，1月22日即係我出嚟交代進一步措施嘅星期六咧係105宗啊。去到1月23日累計係173宗，昨天累計就係226宗嚇。可能喺4點半，昨天4點半嘅時候，張竹君醫生都未俾到一個好明確嘅數字，但係都係話俾大家聽咧，都係超過200宗。今早我哋經整理過啲數字咧，我而家可以講咧，喺1月24號嘅累計確診同埋初步陽性嘅個案數字咧係226宗。冇錯，喺呢226宗咧，分佈係多咗座數嘅，係應該有超過10座喺葵涌村嘅樓宇都揾到一啲確診或者初步陽性嘅個案，但其實94%，即係有210多宗咧，係集中喺以下呢3條村嘅。第一咧就係日葵樓，日葵樓咧仍然係有新嘅個案發現得到嚇。第二座係影葵樓嚇。日葵樓同埋影葵樓咧，已經係先後俾我哋係安排咗進行5天嘅圍封強制檢測嘅工作啦。新發現嘅一座亦都係個案比較多，應該係超過10宗，亦都係琴日初步陽性同埋係確診嘅個案發現嘅，就係下葵樓啊。咁所以我今天咧係需要宣布咧，我哋會喺今日將下葵樓咧。都係要接受呢個5天嘅圍封嘅強制檢測啊！一直到1月28日為止嚇。由於下葵樓咧，昨晚已經係進行咗一個RTD 啦，即係1天嘅圍封嘅強制檢測，到設呢一刻咧係未完成嘅，因為仲要做執法嘅工作啦。咁所以係可以達至好似當日影葵樓咧係一個無縫嘅銜接，我哋會喺今日咧就出呢個5天嘅圍封強檢嘅令啊。下葵樓昨天係第1天，一直咧就係要圍封5天啊，到完成為止啊。 第二個要宣佈嘅咧就係由於日葵樓即係第一座爆發，亦都係到今日為止咧係個案最多，應該係超過150宗㗎啦嘅個案最多嘅葵涌村裏邊嘅樓宇咧，原本嘅圍封嘅強檢咧係到聽朝嘅嚇，係到聽朝，咁咧我哋就係需要延長2天嚇。咁即係話咧，要到1月28日嚇。對唔住，我頭先講下葵樓嗰5天咧，可能個日子嗰度要再澄清嚇。稍後我哋會再同大家澄清。如果5天嘅下葵樓咧，最後1天係幾時？但係日葵樓咧，原本係明天26號早上結束咧，係需要延長多2天。咁至於大家會問啦，咁影葵樓嘅情況係點咧？因為影葵樓係遲一日開始嘅，即係遲一日完結啦。咁我哋希望睇埋今日嗰個情況，因為影葵樓昨天嘅數字新增嘅確診同埋初步陽性個案咧，已經下降到去單位數字啦。咁所以我哋咧就會睇埋今日嗰個情況咧，就再同大家交代。其他剩翻嗰10零宗個案咧，係分佈喺好多座嘅，咁都係1個、2個、3個咁嚇。咁啊，但係我哋都會睇下今日下晝我哋再決定咧，喺葵涌村有冇另外一座係需要進行1天嘅圍封強檢嚇。咁啊，每一次都係加強我哋能夠喺呢個村裏邊咧，盡快可以發現受感染嘅人士，從而咧就係切斷呢個傳播鏈。我完全明白葵涌村受影響嘅居民咧，聽到剛才嘅宣佈咧，都會係好唔開心，好焦慮嚇。咁啊，但係喺呢度咧，希望大家諒解。我哋呢一波嘅疫情咧係嚟得好快，而且係非常之猛烈，咁所以要採取相對果斷、嚴厲嘅措施咧嚟到去截斷佢嘅傳播鏈。咁喺呢度我要再次向葵涌村受影響嘅居民啦，係表示衷心嘅感謝，好多謝佢哋嘅配合同埋佢哋嘅體諒。但係特區政府一定會繼續加派人手咧，做好我哋嘅配套工作。配套嘅工作當然包括維持村內同埋樓宇內嘅清潔啦，清潔啲垃圾啦，飯盒嘅派送啦，電話熱線嘅查詢。如果有確診嘅個案或者緊密接觸者咧，都係盡快安排佢哋入院或者係入檢疫中心咧，係接受隔離檢疫。我哋會不斷完善呢啲嘅工作。正如我早前講咧，一個咁大規模嘅行動咧，要動員好多人嘅。我哋而家估計咧，係任何時候喺葵涌村咧，都係部署咗接近1800個同事咧喺度進行呢啲行動，同埋為居民咧提供適切嘅服務。我提到感謝居民嘅諒解咧，我特別想呢度提一提咧，就係有關千葵樓嘅居民，因為千葵樓當日喺1月22同埋23，即係呢個過夜嘅一日圍封嘅行動咧，係同其他3座一齊進行嘅啊。但係佢哋解除嗰個圍封令咧，係遲咗幾個小時。遲咗幾個小時咧係有原因嘅，因為當時我哋收到一個化驗所嘅通知咧，可能千葵樓有一啲個案咧係陽性嘅。咁所以為咗安全同埋穩妥起見咧，我哋就冇馬上解除咗嗰個圍封，但事後澄清咧，千葵樓嗰啲係屬於另一個樓嘅樣本嚟嘅。咁所以喺當日應該係稍後咧幾個鐘頭之後咧，我哋亦都係解除咗有關於千葵樓嘅圍封嘅行動啦。所以整個工作其實真係與時間競賽，無論喺現場嘅工作啦、採樣嘅工作啦、化驗所嘅工作咧，都係同時間競賽。已經好多時咧就唔係等確診個案先至啟動我哋嘅行動。初步嘅陽性個案咧已經要做嘢，甚至一批一批嘅初步嘅陽性個案咧已經係要啟動我哋相關嘅行動，希望能夠達至呢個早發現、早隔離、早治療嘅目標啦。事實上，我頭先講到呢個龐大嘅呢個規模龐大嘅行動咧，就係由房屋署高層嘅同事作總指揮嘅咁所以大家放心，我哋唔會政出多門，我哋係由第一日開始做葵涌村咧個總指揮嘅人員咧都係房屋署嘅高層嘅同事。 但係單靠房屋署咧難以應付咁大量嘅工作，咁所以調動咗嚟自10幾個部門。頭先我講過啦，超過1800個同事咧嚟到去參與，亦都係動員咗一共6個檢測嘅承辦商喺葵涌村各個方位咧都係設立咗10個嘅流動採樣站，目前係可以提供每天3萬人次嘅採樣。據我掌握嘅數字咧，我未有昨天嘅數字。1月22同埋23日呢2日咧，每日喺葵涌村做到嘅檢測咧，都係19000次到嘅。咁即係話咧，而家以3萬檢測採樣嘅檢測嘅能力咧，應該係可以應付。不過正如頭先所講啦，所有工作咧，我哋都會係加以完善嘅。嗱，而家整體嘅香港呢一波疫情嘅形勢咧係非常之嚴峻嚇。就正如我所講啦，剛才仍然2個喺度發酵同埋傳播嘅源頭咧係分別屬於 Omicron 同埋 Delta 嚇。咁所以係令人擔心嘅。事實上，我哋除咗喺葵涌村有呢個咁大規模嘅爆發咧，喺呢2日亦都有其他地方，我哋要採取一啲都係嚴厲嘅行動，包括昨天晚上喺黃大仙嘅豪苑，咁係擔心呢間大廈某一個座向咧係有垂直嘅傳播，咁所以要安排喺嗰個方向嘅單位咧係需要去檢疫。咁但係呢個個案嘅值得我喺呢度提出咧，就係嗰位確診嘅人士即係佢唔係第一個被發現，但係收尾可能認為咧佢係嗰個源頭嘅確診人士，個 index case 咧，佢係養有倉鼠嘅，但係佢冇應我哋嘅呼籲去交出嚟啦。咁而且佢出現病徵係早於1月15日。亦都冇接受檢測啦。即使去睇個私家醫生咧，亦都係冇進行檢測，直至到我哋就住豪苑。點解我哋會就住黃大仙豪苑做咧？就係我哋喺污水嗰度發現到有陽性嘅跡象，咁所以係做咗呢個強制檢測咧，從而咧喺23號先揾到呢個個案嚇。如果能夠早一啲佢願意接受檢測，或者係意識到自己可能都係一個因為養有倉鼠係高風險嘅人士咧，或許可以更加早咧係截斷呢條傳播鏈。第2個個案咧都係昨天嘅，就喺大窩口村嘅富強樓呢個係應該喺呢條村嘅第2座咧係接受呢個強制嘅檢測啦。咁就揾到有2個低層嘅單位係確診，咁所以經過專家嚟到去睇咧，同埋我哋啲同事去睇咧，就認為佢相鄰嘅2個單位咧可能都有啲風險，咁所以亦都係安排咗檢疫啦。第3個風險嘅存在咧，當然係日葵樓呢2000幾個居民，佢喺未進入去呢一種嘅圍封檢測嘅之前咧，佢哋係有回到佢嘅工作間嘅。咁所以喺工作間亦都會引起一啲零星嘅感染啊，甚至係一啲比較有規模嘅爆發。例如喺呢個建築地盤，一個位於何文田嘅建築地盤，就係因為有一位工友咧係住喺日葵樓，咁所以而家初步喺呢個地盤發現嘅感染嘅個案啊，包括亦都係初步陽性啦，就連埋呢一位日葵樓嘅工友咧，共係9位。咁所以睇嚟呢個成個地盤咧，可能接近100位工友咧，都會被視為緊密接觸者咧，而係需要進入去檢疫啦。咁第4方面當然咧係有多個源頭未明嘅本地個案嚇，到而家為止咧，衞生防護中心未能夠聯繫到究竟呢啲源頭未明嘅個案是否涉及我剛才講嗰2條嘅傳播鏈嘅。喺呢個工作裏邊咧，我可以講我哋點解話係盡量希望走喺嗰個爆發之前咧，除咗透過呢啲強制嘅檢測之外咧，亦都係我哋嘅污水檢測係扮演咗一個重要嘅角色。事實上有幾個情況咧，都係先有污水檢測嘅陽性，從而進入去強制檢測或者圍封檢測咧，係揾到初步陽性同埋確診嘅人士嘅。目前由環境保護署、渠務署同埋香港大學一支團隊組成嘅污水監測隊，已經係加強咗佢哋嘅檢測嘅範圍。其實我哋一直都冇停過。即使第4波嘅疫情穩定之後咧，呢啲定期定點嘅污水監測嘅工作 涵蓋香港幾百萬人口咧，我哋冇停過。我哋其實喺嗰度嘅研究費用咧數以億計，喺度做緊呢啲監測嘅工作。咁但係近日因為呢新一波嘅疫情咧，亦都係佢哋會重點去睇一啲風險高嘅地方咧，嚟到去採樣甚至喺下游採樣之後咧，一直要追溯到去上游，究竟喺邊座大廈或者邊條屋邨咧係呢啲污水係排出嚟，從而我哋可以更加聚焦，將我哋嘅力量，即係包括檢測嘅力量、圍封嘅力量咧，係擺喺最有效益嘅地方啦。咁所以我喺呢度再重申啦，呢2年嘅抗疫嘅工作咧，我哋都係不斷總結經驗吸收經驗，然後咧係加以完善，亦都不斷咁增強我哋嘅能力。2年之間，我哋喺各方面嘅能力咧都大大增強咗噶啦，而且亦都係繼續係仍以科學為本。但係我同時都要考慮對市民嘅影響。正如我頭先所講咧，我相信日葵樓嘅居民聽到我話又要封我2日，一定係好焦慮不安、好唔開心嚇。所以我哋唔能夠隨意話最穩陣嘅方法咧，就係大家圍封晒，一定要考慮對市民嗰個影響。但係當然啦，對受影響嘅市民，我哋希望佢哋嘅不安、焦慮、不便可以減到最低，咁就係我哋所謂嘅配套嘅服務咧，要做得更加好嚇。因為畢竟能力唔係完全冇限制嘅嚇，每一個地方抗疫嘅能力咧都有一定嘅限制嚇。咁所以目前嚟講咧，我哋仍然係目標為本啦，但係同時間咧已經係進入去係喺能力嗰個提升嘅方面，特別係檢測嘅能力。大家都知道啦，就以前講咧，每日我哋已經係增加到可以做10萬次嘅病毒嘅檢測啦。其實呢幾日咧，有幾日已經做到15萬次㗎啦嚇。咁喺呢個15萬次再上去嗱，是否能夠持續增加呢？呢個係一個而家我哋喺度研究緊。如果有需要係向內地尋求一啲嘅助力咧，呢個我亦都唔會抗拒嘅。事實上，過去2年中央都好關心我哋喺2020年咧，亦都喺幾個方面咧係俾咗我哋嘅支援嚇。但係而家我哋嘅能力提升咗咧，所以過去1年咧亦都冇好直接喺內地嗰度尋求嗰個支援。但係如果有需要嘅時候，我哋係一家人我係好肯定咧，係中央係一直關心緊香港，而廣東省咧亦都係初步向我辦公室表示咧，有咩需要我哋亦可以儘管提出。但係咧要知道呢個助力嚟到可以究竟放喺邊度咧，最能夠幫助到香港咧係今次呢個抗疫嘅工作係我相信大家都會有興趣知道咧，咁年初4會係咩嘅情景啦嚇？因為我哋而家嘅社交距離措施咧一直係延續到最後一日咧係2月3號，即係年初3嚇。咁我可以喺呢度初步，我只能夠初步講，不過我可以應承大家咧，呢個禮拜內我一定會係再向公眾交代嚟緊嘅初4及以後嗰個情況。但初步嘅睇法咧就係要大幅度放寬呢啲社交距離嘅措施嘅機會就好微啦。但係有冇可能可以微調呢啲措施咧？呢個係而家我哋每日我都係要求各嘅局同埋部門咧喺度評估緊。第二個反而可以好肯定講咧，就一定要加大力度擴大呢個疫苗氣泡嚇。趁呢個時候，我哋一定要即係提升嗰個疫苗嘅接種率。咁所以儘管有人會又係唔開心，又係不便，又係反對咧，呢個係必須我哋要做嘅，就係更加嚴厲咁去要求係進入處所或者一啲活動嘅時候咧，要係打咗針嚇。我哋亦都會更加強力咁去推動打針嘅安排，特別係針對今日疫苗接種率仍然係偏低嘅長者嚇。不過喺呢度亦都係要多謝市民嘅配合包括長者嘅配合。自從提出咗疫苗氣泡呢個概念之後咧，我哋見到每日嘅疫苗接種嘅數字都係比以前好嘅。大概如果你記得我講啦，如果我哋第一針每日做到2萬咧，其實去到2月24號咧個情況係幾好噶啦，應該係85%以上嚇。咁昨天亦都係大概可以首針咧係做到2萬。所以目前嚟講，喺香港合資格人口打咗第一針咧係78.1%嚇，咁離80%咧已經係好近啦，在望啦。而打咗第3針嘅咧，亦都係超過咗80萬名嘅市民嚇。咁但係詳細嘅初4之後嘅情況咧，我會喺呢個禮拜內連同最新嘅 疫情咧，再同大家交代同埋公佈所需嘅措施。咁最後都係要做一個呼籲嘅，尤其是農曆新年嚟緊啦。事實上咧，今日係行政會議喺農曆年假之前咧最後一次會議。咁我亦都喺度呼籲大家咧，喺假期期間都係要減少聚會，包括家庭同家庭之間嘅聚會，盡量咧係留喺屋企。希望透過大家嘅努力咧，我哋可以好似以往一樣咧，係成功可以抗擊呢個新冠嘅病毒，走出呢個疫情。多謝大家，睇下咩提問。
依家係提問時間，想提問嘅記者朋友啦，請先舉手。嗌到你嘅時候啦，請講出你代表嘅傳媒機構名稱，然後用我哋俾呢個咪啦去發問嘅。呢一邊灰色衫嗰位女記者，前排嗰位。
林太你好，信報嘅有幾個問題想跟進翻。咁之前特首都有講到話會調查跟進翻鴻門宴風波事件啦。咁未知可唔可以交代翻呢個調查嘅進展呢？咁同埋之前徐英偉其實都被你點名話係對佢好失望啦。咁如果最終佢嘅下場其實係即係冇問責下台嘅話，咁特首會唔會覺得政治官員問責制其實係名存實亡呢？咁如果同樣地，另外入境處處長歐家宏，如果佢都係即係可以係即係正常咁復工嘅話，咁其實係咪都係代表呢個政府其實對於取信於市民，其實可能會有個即係信任上面都有個落差呢？唔該。呢
個問題咧就係有關於早前而家講緊係1月3日有一個宴會，有10多位官員咧係出席。我其後咧係表示咗係需要詳細嘅調查。我可以講咧，調查已經進入去尾聲。我係希望喺農曆年前咧係同社會做一個交代嚇。喺全面交代之前咧，個別嘅個案、個別嘅官員嘅情況咧係唔適宜咁樣去透露嘅嚇。咁但係正如我當日講，因為我當日都掌握1月6號我講嘅時候咧，我都掌握部分嘅資料嚇。咁包括係幾點鐘去或者逗留幾耐啊咁。所以對於民政事務局局長咧，我冇錯，我當日係講，我表示係比較失望喺咁多人裏邊嚇。可以講今日都仍然係呢個嘅結論嚇。咁但係我唔想今日咧係零碎咁去講每一個同事係點樣處理。但係大家可以放心嚇。無論係政治問責制度對於官員嘅要求，或者公務員制度對於公務員嘅要求，我哋都係定得好高嘅。佢一定要盡忠職守，一定要有誠信，亦都咧係時刻要謹慎自己嘅行為，唔好為特區政府帶嚟任何嘅尷尬。英文我哋成日用咧 ，They cannot bring the government into disrepute 所以呢啲係我今次處理呢件事嘅標準。但係正如我所講咧，係全盤嚟到去交代咧係比較好嚇。
下一條提問。白色衫後排嗰位男記者。
林太早晨，Now TV 嘅，首先都係想問少少官員嗰個問題。頭先雖然你都話唔適宜個別去評論，但係其實可唔可以確認3位官員而家係復咗工未啊？因為呢個可能都關乎到即係抗疫工作啊，或者係即係市民都關心呢樣嘢。如果佢哋係有個別人士係休緊假嘅話，咁到底係特首你要求佢哋休假，定係佢哋本身有私事要休假呢？第二方面嘅問題係想問嗰個葵涌村嗰邊嘅問題。就係其實而家再多咗一座大廈係要即係禁足5日或者係要居家隔離咁樣啦。其實可唔可以透露即係到底個準則係點樣去決定嗰一棟大廈需唔需要去居家隔離呢？係咪話嗰棟大廈一超過10宗嘅確診或者初步確診嘅話就需要去隔離呢？同埋就係而家有冇考慮到就係封咗葵涌村咁樣呢？同埋頭先特首都提到話即係會用一啲更加強力嘅措施去推呢個疫苗氣泡啦。可唔可以透露一下到底係即係點樣強力法同埋點樣嚴厲法呢？最後就係想問埋嗰個特首選舉嘅提名期，其實到而家好似都仲未刊憲嗰個提名期係幾時啦？ 中間有冇啲咩因素或者係阻滯咁樣呢？同埋就係特首你本人有冇意願參選呢？因為見到都其實開始有啲人宣布咗話係會參選咁樣嘅。唔該。
4條問題。第一咧就係你提到3位官員，我假設你係講緊需要進入去竹篙灣檢疫嗰3位係嘛嚇？我可以講咧就正如我早前講無論係接受檢疫而係要休假用自己假期嘅官員，或者係未完成多次按住衛生防護中心要去做病毒檢測嘅官員，因此亦都係要自行攞假咧。嗰個係仍然係呢個嘅準則，所以到今日為止咧，係有1位嘅官員咧係未能夠復職嘅，就係民政事務局局長嚇，係我要求佢繼續休假，直至到農曆新年後，即係話同樣都係初4嚇。其他嘅官員咧會按住佢完成咗嗰個病毒檢測，攞到陰性證明到佢係陰性咧，係可以恢復佢哋嘅工作。第二個關於葵涌每一座大廈，正如我頭先所講，每一次做抗疫嘅決定咧，當然係科學為主。咁喺呢啲情況之下，其中一個科學當然就係有幾多確診個案，同埋有幾多初步陽性嘅個案，同埋呢啲個案與個案之間嘅分佈。譬如你話係5個就要封，但如果5個係同一個家庭、同一屋檐下，同5個確診嘅個案分佈喺呢個大廈裏邊不同樓層、不同單位咧，呢個科學上都係有啲分別嘅。咁所以呢個究竟係點樣決定咧？就係由衛生防護中心決定。所以我只係今早咧，我收到食物衞生局局長嘅建議就係覺得咧去到下葵樓，因為已經有初步陽性嘅個案。超過10宗其實幾多宗佢哋仲喺度要對緊咁係相信咧係有風險啦。咁亦都應該咧係以個更加穩妥嘅圍封嘅強檢嘅手段咧嚟到盡快切斷呢個傳播鏈。咁所以嗰個準則就係呢個準則咁但係當然你話全部成個葵涌村封咗佢，咁從抗疫同埋科學上可能係更加穩妥，但係跟住第二個因素咧就係對居民嘅影響嗰度係35,000人咁所以呢個對居民嘅影響有考慮啦。同埋我亦都話咧，我哋嘅能力唔係無限嘅，事實上所有政府嘅能力都有限，所以有啲地方因為個案太多咧，已經唔收入醫院㗎啦。香港今日我哋仍然能夠將每一個確診嘅個案咧係安排入院作隔離，需要治療要治療，一直到咧佢係穩妥咁係康復或者係陰性，我哋先至俾佢離院。好多地區好多國家已經不能夠應付呢種嘅安排，咁所以呢個係一個能力嗰個問題。咁所以考慮埋對居民嘅影響同埋能力嘅問題咧，今日我喺呢度可以話咧，除咗下葵同埋早前嘅影葵同埋日葵咧，我哋暫時係唔覺得需要5天圍封另外嗰10幾座樓。但係頭先你都記得我講過啦，我哋今日整天評估咗可以做1天嘅圍封，即係 RTD 嘅能力之後咧，如果係可以或許喺葵涌村咧，再睇清楚嗰啲初步陽性個案咧，係可以再做嘅。呢個亦都係等於早前嘅影葵同埋下葵都係咁。喺未公布5天圍封之前咧，佢哋都係先做咗1日嘅圍封，睇到個情況係有令人擔心咧，就馬上無縫咁咧係進入去延長呢個圍封咧，至到5天嘅圍封。疫苗氣泡嘅將佢更加加強咧，有唔同嘅做法嘅。當然一個簡單係擴大嘅範圍。你記得我哋第一個講咧就係公務員翻入嚟或者政府僱員啦，翻入嚟政府大樓咧，去到2月16號咧一定要打針啦，唔係就唔好翻工，唔翻工有後果嘅，就當係曠工嚇。咁跟住有其他機構亦都係響應跟從啦，即係醫管局啊或者啲大學啊咁。咁所以我哋可以擴大個範圍，因為而家好多時我哋做呢啲以一個處所形式限制嘅咧，都係靠一條599F 嚇。但係599F 裏邊嘅處所都係得10幾類嘅啫。咁但係香港所有人市民要進入嘅處所遠遠多過10幾類啦。咁所以另一種擴大範圍咧，就係擴大條599F 嘅涵蓋嘅範圍，等到我哋可以就住更加多市民要去嘅處所咧，係強制要求咧係打針先可以進入嚇。咁呢個係一個方法，有冇其他方法？我哋仲喺度諗緊嚇。至於有關選舉嘅問題咧，就冇錯，第6屆行政長官選舉咧將會喺3月27日進行投票嚇。咁但係按住法例嘅要求咧，係應該仲有個空間，係唔係已經過咗嗰個或者係截止嘅日期嘅，仲有一個空間可以稍後咧嚟到公佈呢個提名期嘅開始。咁都係會按住法律嚟到進行啦嚇。多謝。
今日最後一條問題。後排黑色衫嗰位男記者，係各位啱。
Good morning, Mrs. Lam. Couple questions from RTHK. First is, why is Secretary for Home Affairs Casper Choi still not allowed to resume his duties? And how will you deal with other officials who attended the same party? Second, on the lockdowns at Kwai Chung Estate, what is your response to reports and online posts on complaints from residents there about the lockdown, saying that there are overfilled bins, garbage piling up, and poor meals arrangements? What is the threshold for extending or imposing new lockdowns in the estate? And lastly, you mentioned possibly expanding the vaccine bubble and keeping social distancing rules. So given the current COVID-19 situation in Hong Kong, and calls from experts to ask people to wear 2 masks for further protection, why do you still choose to not wear a face mask during this session? Thank you.
Thank you for the 3 questions. Now, first of all, is about the internal investigation into the disciplinary aspects of the officials who have attended the birthday party reception on the 3rd of January. The investigations are coming to an end, and I would make my best effort to announce the investigation result and the consequential actions before the Chinese New Year. Now, I would need to emphasize that the total of 15 public officials, including one who is on pre-retirement leave, you should not treat them as a homogeneous group. I said on the 6th of January, as well as on the 7th of January in my press statement, that we need to deal with each individual official's attendance at this dinner party. The scope of investigation includes when did he arrive, how long have he stayed in the dinner reception, which means that when did he leave, and what sort of activities he or she engaged in during their stay in the dinner party. So this is not a homogeneous group. In other words, one would not expect that the internal investigations will come to the same conclusion and hence the same sanction for all the 15 officials as a group. You remember I said that while I will deal with the investigation in a very impartial manner, 中文係不偏不倚, I also said that I had to be fair to each official involved. So they are not in the same group. Now, having said that, by now it should be quite obvious, based on what I said on the 6th of January, that the Secretary for Home Affairs is an official whom we will have to look into very deeply because of various aspects. He has stayed long. I already told you that he was one of those who stayed for a pretty long period during a pretty late time of the dinner party. And of course, his position is a Secretary for Home Affairs who is involved in the anti-epidemic operation of the Hong Kong SAR government. So I have already asked that he should not come to work until the investigation is completed and the results announced to the public, including any possible sanctions. That is the reason why I have asked him to continue to take his leave and not to come to office, because he is a very important position, the Secretary for Home Affairs. The second question about the Kwai Chung case. Now, there is no doubt that we have a major spread in the Kwai Tsong estate based on the Omicron variant, which is highly transmissible. And by now, on a cumulative basis, we already have 220 plus confirmed or preliminary positive cases in the Kwai Tsong estate. But of course, again, in the same way that I described the 15 officials, if you look at these 220 plus cases spread over the 16 blocks in the Kwai Tsong estate, they vary significantly. The Yat Kwai Lau clearly is the core of all these infections with a large number of cases. So having a look at the situation from an epidemiological perspective, and the mere fact that yesterday we still discovered new cases in Yat Kwai Lau, and they are not isolated cases. I think the figure is over 20 such cases emerging in Yat Kwai Lau. And that's why, to play safe, protecting the residents as well as preventing the spread of this virus, we have no choice but to extend the RTD, that is the restricted testing declaration, for another 2 days. That is from 5 days to a total of 7 days. I fully understand the impact on the residents, and there are over 2,500 residents alone in the Yat Kwai building. We will continue to step up our staff mobilization to provide support to the residents. Now, including the Ha Kwai Lau that I announced this morning, we will have 3 blocks of residents totaling over 7,000 people who need to be supported in the next few days in terms of their breakfast, lunch, dinners, and all their daily necessities, their requirement for drugs, and so on. I would not say that we have done it in a perfect manner, but we'll continue to improve. I already said that we will improve in terms of the hotline inquiry, we will improve in terms of cleaning the rubbish and distributing the mailboxes, and also arranging in an orderly manner for the residents to undergo the compulsory testing. As far as the vaccine bubble, let me put it that way. There is no doubt that vaccination remains the most effective way in order to tackle the virus, including Omicron. And unfortunately, in Hong Kong, we have been doing vaccination for almost a year. We started in February last year, so it's almost 1 year. Our vaccination rate still lags behind places in our vicinity, in the mainland, in Singapore, and other places. So we really need to jack up the vaccination rates, especially amongst the elderly. They have been very cooperative. We are seeing the rates coming up, but still, it's not yet reached a stage that we feel safe. Because you could imagine that one of the primary objectives of our anti-epidemic work is to protect our public health system, is to protect Hong Kong's public hospitals. So if an elderly gets infected because, for example, just for argument's sake, a care worker living in Yat Kwai Lau was serving this elderly in an elderly home, and the elderly get infected and spread to other elderly, and all of them have to be admitted into hospital. And they will have to stay pretty long in the hospital because of their preconditions, or even die in the hospital. That would be a major load on Hong Kong's public hospitals. And the last thing we want to see is a collapse of the Hong Kong public hospital system, as we have seen in some other places. So we are finding and exploring all ways to enhance the use of, to enhance the creation of all this vaccine bubble, in other words, to impose vaccination as a requirement for entry into the prescribed premises or joining certain activities. Now, finally, it's a very personal question, but I welcome this opportunity for me to explain once and for all why I'm not wearing a mask on this occasion. This is not incidental. This is a well-thought-out behavior of the chief executive. I stopped wearing face masks on 2 occasions when I speak to the media and through the media to the people of Hong Kong. One is in the Legislative Council chamber, whether when I was delivering my policy address, when I went in to answer questions and so on. The other is standing here in the auditorium talking to you people and through you, because every time I come out is televised, to the people of Hong Kong. The people of Hong Kong have to hear very clearly from the chief executive what are the messages that she is conveying to the public. The people of Hong Kong may even have to feel my emotions. So sometimes I am pretty relaxed. For example, in August last year, the virus situation was well under control and our athletes were doing so well. I came here to talk to you in a very relaxed and very elated mood. But now I'm very somber. I'm very solemn because I'm very worried. And wearing the mask would not allow people to see for themselves the chief of the Hong Kong SAR. I'm the chief executive of the Hong Kong SAR. People need to understand and feel my feeling. Now I'm very worried. And so I'm not going to smile to you very relaxed or in a very casual manner. This is a very solemn occasion. So I'm not doing it because of discomfort. I'm not taking off masks because of discomfort, because if you see me on the street, I'm wearing my mask. If I do my 3-day presentation of what's an honest, 6 hours a day, I wore my mask. But now I'm talking to the people of Hong Kong. And I want the people of Hong Kong to understand exactly the situation that Hong Kong is in and to pull in their efforts to support this very important fight against the Omicron. So I hope I answer once and for all. This is nothing of personal. This is really performing my duty as the chief executive of the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region. Now, I'm coming to the end of this media stand-up. As I said, this is the last occasion before the Chinese New Year. I wish you all a relaxed and peaceful Chinese New Year, but you will see me before you break off for the Chinese New Year holiday. 多謝大家。
今日嘅記者會今日到此為止，唔該晒大家。